What if I told you that 80% of the gear in your local tackle shop is designed to catch you, not the fish? Today we are stripping away the marketing lies of the billion-dollar bass industry. We're going deep into the science of why your high-tech sonar might be scaring away trophy lunkers, why the perfect lure color is a total myth, and how barometric pressure is actually playing tricks on your mind. But most importantly, I'm going to reveal the dirty secret of the fishing world, why a 10-year-old kid on a muddy bank with a $20 Walmart rod is consistently outfishing the pros in their $80,000 boats. Stay until the end, because the truth about the bank ninja is going to change the way you look at a body of water forever. I promise you, you're not ready for this. Let's be honest with ourselves for a second, man to man. When was the last time you walked into a tackle shop just to buy one bag of hooks and somehow walked out $200 lighter? It happens to the best of us, and it's not an accident. It's psychological warfare. The bass fishing industry is a multi-billion-dollar machine that has mastered one specific skill, selling you the solution to a problem you didn't even know you had. They've successfully convinced the American angler that if you don't have that specific, brand-new $25 jerkbait with the 3D scanned scales and the ultra-realistic holographic eyes, you're basically fishing in an empty swimming pool. But here is the cold, hard truth that nobody wants to admit. Bass don't have wallets, and they definitely don't read fishing magazines. Think about the color trap. This is where the marketing geniuses really earn their paychecks. Every single year, like clockwork, a new must-have color drops. Last year it was Gold Shiner. This year it's Electric Bluegill, or some variation of Foxy Mama. We see the pros on TV, guys with jersey patches and wrapped boats, pulling 8-pounders out of Lake Fork or the California Delta on that specific lure. We see the slow-motion footage, the splashing water, the glory. And what do? We rush to the store. We buy 5 of them because we're terrified of being the only guy on the lake without the secret weapon. But let's use some common sense. Did the bass suddenly change their biological makeup over the winter? Did their eyes evolve in 12 months to only perceive purple flakes or a specific shade of chartreuse? Of course not. The industry spends millions on color science, but that science isn't designed for the fish's brain. It's designed for the human eye. We see a shiny, beautiful lure in a plastic blister pack and we think, man, if I were a bass, I'd bite that. And right there, that's the moment you got caught. The lure did exactly what it was engineered to do. It caught a fisherman. It didn't even have to touch the water to make a profit. And then we have to talk about the live scope era. Don't get me wrong, forward-facing sonar is a miracle of modern engineering. It's changed the game. But it has also created a whole generation of screen watchers. We've traded our ancient predatory instincts for digital pixels. We're so busy staring at a 12-inch screen, squinting at a glowing blob in 20 feet of water, that we've completely forgotten how to actually read the environment. We've forgotten how to look at the way the wind is pushing the baitfish against a rocky point. We've forgotten how to spot the subtle swirl of a hunter in the reeds. We've traded the soul of the hunt for a video game. When you rely 100% on a $5,000 electronic unit, you stop being a fisherman and you start being an IT technician. If your batteries die, or the signal glitches, or the sun is too bright to see the screen, your day is effectively over. Why? Because you've lost your bank ninja intuition. You've replaced your natural senses with a circuit board. The marketing machine wants you to believe that more gear equals more success, but in my experience, the opposite is almost always true. The more gear you pile onto your boat, the more noise you create in your own head. Instead of focusing on the only thing that actually matters, the fish's behavior, you're stuck in a mental loop of, should I switch to the drop shot? Maybe I need that JDM reel with the magnesium frame to feel the bite better. While you're busy overthinking and changing lures for the 10th time, that 10-year-old kid on the bank is on his 50th cast with the same old torn-up plastic worm. He's not thinking about gear ratios. He's thinking about the fish. He is focused, while you are simply distracted by your own equipment. And that is exactly where the industry wants you, confused, overwhelmed, and always ready to buy the next big thing to fix a problem that gear can't solve. Let's dive into the biggest superstition in the American bass community, the perfect match myth. We've been conditioned by thousands of YouTube tutorials and magazine articles to believe that if the crawfish in your local Tennessee creek have a slightly orange tint on their claws in April and your jig is pumpkin seed instead of Delta orange, you're going home empty-handed. We've turned bass fishing into a fine art gallery tour, obsessed with shades, flakes, and patterns. But we've forgotten one fundamental truth. Bass fishing isn't an art project, it's a physics lab. Here is the reality that will save you a fortune over the next 10 years. A bass lives in a world of vibration and water displacement, not Pinterest aesthetics. Think about the environment. When a heavy spring rain turns your favorite lake into chocolate milk, or when you're flipping docks under the pitch-black sky of a Texas night, do you really think that fish is checking the UPC code on your lure to see if it's the correct shade of green? Bass possess a lateral line, a sophisticated sensory organ running down the length of their body that is more sensitive than any sonar unit Garmin or Humminbird could ever dream of building. They don't see your lure the way you do with your human eyes. They feel the water being pushed. When you're cranking a massive Colorado blade spinnerbait through murky water, that fish isn't looking for a bait fish. It is reacting to a thumping, rhythmic pressure wave that screams, something big, clumsy, and wounded is moving right here. But the industry can't sell you vibrations easily. You can't put water displacement in a shiny, vacuum-sealed blister pack and make it look sexy on a retail shelf. So instead, they sell you ghost shad, bluegill flare, and neon perch. They sell you the visual lie because that's what catches the human eye in the aisle. I've watched guys stand on the deck of a $100,000 Ranger boat, completely paralyzed, unable to make a cast because they couldn't decide between watermelon red flake and watermelon candy. It's madness. Meanwhile, our bank ninja, that kid with the tangled hair and the scuffed-up sneakers, is standing near the boat ramp throwing a simple, ugly 5-inch black stickbait. Why black? Because black creates the strongest, most solid silhouette in the water column. It provides the highest contrast against any background. It's physics, not fashion. The pro is trying to trick the fish's eyes, which are easily deceived by light and shadow. The kid is triggering the fish's instinct, which is hardwired into its DNA. And don't even get me started on the sound myth. We are flooded with lures that rattle, lures that knock, and lures that are marketed as silent. We're told that on highly pressured lakes, you must use silent baits or you'll spook every lunker in the county. But have you ever actually put your head under the surface of a busy lake? It's not a library down there. It's a construction site. You've got boat motors, jet skis, waves crashing against riprap, and crawfish clicking in the rocks. A bass isn't scared of sound. It's scared of unnatural signatures. When a bass hears a cheap plastic rattle that sounds like a repetitive, mass-produced toy, it knows something is wrong. Not because it's too loud, but because it's too fake. The kid on the bank isn't overthinking the frequency of his lure. He spent so much time with that one cheap rod that he knows exactly how to make his bait dance. He creates a vibration that mimics life, the frantic, irregular skip of a dying shad, rather than the monotonous drone of a marketing brochure. We've become so obsessed with matching the hatch visually that we've lost the ancient art of matching the energy. A bass is a reactive predator. It's a bully. It doesn't want to solve a complex color puzzle. It wants to end a fight and get a meal. If you stop worrying about whether your crankbait has realistic 3D gills and start worrying about the angle of your retrieve and the thump of your blade, you will start catching the exact fish that the pros are leaving behind. Now, I know some of you are probably clutching your $500 tackle boxes right now, ready to call me crazy. So let's settle this in the comments. I want you to tell me about the ugliest, cheapest, or most wrong-colored lure you've ever used that somehow caught your personal best. Was it a beat-up piece of plastic you found in a parking lot, or a lure your kid picked out just because it was bright pink? Let's hear those stories. Let's see if we can prove that the fish care a lot less about the price tag than the experts claim. Drop your trash lure success stories below. I'm reading every single one of them. If you've spent more than 5 minutes at a boat ramp in Alabama or Texas, you've heard it. The universal excuse for every skunked trip in history. The barometric pressure is rising, man. The bite is dead. The cold front moved in. In the American bass fishing community, barometric pressure is treated like a dark god that controls the destiny of every cast. We check our weather apps like stock traders, looking for that magic 29.90 reading. But let's cut through the garbage. Does the pressure actually lock a bass's jaw shut? Or is it just the most convenient lie we tell ourselves to feel better about our $500 reels not spinning? To understand the lie, you have to understand the science. A bass has a swim bladder, a gas-filled sac that controls its buoyancy. For decades, the tackle shop experts have told us that when the barometric pressure rises, it puts pressure on that bladder, making the fish uncomfortable, so it sinks to the bottom and stops eating. Sounds logical, right? Wrong. Think about the physics. A normal change in barometric pressure is equivalent to a bass moving just 2 or 3 inches up or down in the water column. You really think a fish that can dive 10 feet in a split second to crush a shad is uncomfortable because of a microscopic change in air pressure? No, the pressure isn't the problem. The light is the problem. When a cold front hits, what happens? The clouds vanish. The sky becomes that piercing high-pressure blue. The wind dies down. Now, imagine you're a predator that doesn't have eyelids. You're sitting in clear water, and suddenly, the sun is a high-powered searchlight exposing your position to everything in the lake. You're not uncomfortable because of your bladder. You're exposed. You're vulnerable. So, what does the bass do? It tightens up to cover. It buries its nose into the thickest hydrilla, the darkest heart of a laydown, or the deepest shadow of a dock. This is where the pro in the boat fails. He's still out there in open water, throwing a crankbait, wondering why the pressure killed the bite. He's waiting for the fish to come to him. But look at the bank ninja, that kid we talked about. He doesn't care about the barometer. He doesn't even know what a high-pressure system is. He just sees that the sun is bright, so he walks to that one overgrown willow tree where the shade is thickest. He flips his cheap worm right into the nastiest, tangliest part of the roots. He puts the bait right on the fish's nose, and boom, he's hooked up. The industry loves the pressure myth because it encourages you to buy finesse gear. The pressure is high. You need 4-pound fluorocarbon and a $400 spinning rod to detect the light bites. They sell you a solution to a weather pattern. But the real solution isn't in your wallet, it's in your target selection. When the front moves in, the bass don't stop eating, they stop traveling. They become lazy. They become homebodies. You have to hit them in the face. You have to slow down. You have to be willing to lose your lure in the heavy brush where they are hiding. Most American anglers are too afraid to get dirty. They want to fish the clean water, the easy points, the spots that look good on a GoPro. But the trophies are in the junk. While the guy in the nitro boat is complaining to his buddy about the barometric reading, the kid on the bank is pulling a monster out of a trash-filled culvert pipe because he understood one simple thing. The fish is still there. It's always there. It's just waiting for someone brave enough to stop looking at their phone and start looking at the shadows. Stop using the weather as an excuse. The barometer isn't your enemy. Your lack of adaptability is. The bank ninja wins because he adapts to the conditions he's given, while the pro tries to force the lake to fit the conditions he paid for. Let's talk about what I call the PhD base. If you're fishing a public lake in Florida, Georgia, or East Texas, places like Lake Fork, Gunnersville, or the Kissimmee Chain, you aren't just fishing against the bass anymore. You're fishing against their memory. On these legendary bodies of water, a 10-pound trophy lunker has likely been caught and released 3, 4, maybe even 5 times in its life. It has seen every Strike King crankbait, every Yamamoto Senko, and every Z-Man chatterbait in the Bass Pro Shop's catalog. It has heard the humming of 1,000 different Minn Kota and Ghost trolling motors. To that fish, your expensive Pro Staff setup isn't a threat. It's a neon sign that says, "Danger, stay away." The pro in the boat rolls up to a classic-looking primary point or a textbook perfect submerged hump. He does exactly what the magazines and the YouTube experts told him to do. He keeps his distance, engages his spot lock, and hurls a long, beautiful cast with a premium $20 lure. But the fish already knows the routine. It feels the specific, high-frequency vibration of that mass-produced tungsten rattle through its lateral line, and it simply moves 5 feet deeper into the thickest brush it can find. The fish isn't off the bite. It's just tired of the same old song and dance. It has become lure shy and boat shy. This is where the bank ninja holds the ultimate unfair advantage. While the guys in the $100,000 boats are literally fighting each other for the same prime offshore spots they all saw on the latest tournament livestream, the kid on the bank is exploring the ignored water. He's fishing in the places a fiberglass boat simply cannot go. The shallow, nasty, ugly water right under the noses of the people sitting at the boat ramp. He's using lures that are often overlooked because they aren't trendy or sexy enough for social media. Maybe it's a simple, hand-poured worm that doesn't have a flashy logo on the bag, or a beat-up spinnerbait with a rusted clevis that makes a slightly off sound. The secret to beating pressured fish isn't buying a more expensive or more realistic lure. It's providing a different acoustic signature. Pressured bass develop a powerful negative association with certain sounds. They associate the rhythmic, mechanical thump, thump, thump of a standard paddle-tail swimbait with a hole in their lip and a stressful trip to the surface. The kid on the bank wins because his presentation is erratic, unpredictable, and most importantly, stealthy. He isn't vibrating the entire bay with a 36-volt electrical system and two massive fish finders sending out pings every millisecond. He is a ghost in the shadows. In the world of professional bass fishing, we've become obsessed with efficiency. We want to cover water fast. We want to make 1,000 casts a day. We want to power fish our way to a limit. But on highly pressured water, your efficiency is actually your enemy. Stealth and patience are your only real allies. The fish in these lakes have PhDs in avoiding shiny boats. They've learned that loud and fast means danger. They've learned that the sound of a heavy lure hitting the water like a brick means it's time to stop feeding. If you want to catch the fish that the pros are missing, you have to stop acting like a customer and start acting like a predator. You have to fish the spots they think are too shallow, too trashy, or too difficult to navigate. You have to use the baits they think are too cheap or too old school. Because at the end of the day, a pressured bass is looking for any reason not to bite. The pro gives them 10 reasons. The kid on the bank gives them none. Now, before we get to the final secret, I want to settle a massive debate right here in the comments. There are two types of fishermen in America. The first group believes that bass are just instinct-driven machines with a 3-second memory, that they'll bite anything if you put it in front of them long enough. But then there's the second group. These guys swear that on lakes like Lake Fork or Guntersville, the bass have a PhD. They believe these fish can actually recognize the specific frequency of a trolling motor or the exact rattle of a popular crankbait. So where do you stand? Have you ever been outsmarted by a specific pet fish in a pond that refused to hit the same lure twice? Or do you think pressured fish is just a lame excuse we use to feel better about a bad day on the water? Drop your smart bass stories in the comments below. Tell me about the one fish that made you feel like a complete amateur. I'm going to be down there reading your stories and replying to the best ones. So let's hear it. Are they smart, or are we just overthinking it? So, here we are. We've talked about the marketing lies, the fake science of color, the weather excuses, and the trap of expensive technology. But now we have to address the heart of the matter. We have to answer the question that keeps pro anglers awake at night. How does that 10-year-old kid on the muddy bank, the bank ninja, consistently pull giants out of the water while the guy in the $80,000 boat struggles to get a nibble? The answer isn't in his tackle box. It's in his head. You see, the biggest enemy of the modern angler is the filter. When you buy into the industry, you start viewing the lake through a filter of rules. You think, it's 10 a.m., the sun is high, so I have to fish deep. Or, the water is 60 degrees, so I must use a slow-moving jig. We've memorized so many rules that we've stopped actually looking at the water. We are fishing based on what a magazine told us 3 years ago, not what the fish is telling us right now. The kid on the bank, he doesn't know the rules. And because he doesn't know them, he isn't afraid to break them. He doesn't have a strategy planned out on a GPS map. He has something much more powerful, pure observation. While the pro is looking at his live scope screen, trying to find a percentage spot, the kid is watching the dragonflies. He notices that they are all hovering over one specific patch of lily pads. He notices a tiny microscopic swirl near a half-sunken Coke bottle. He isn't thinking about thermoclines or oxygen levels. He's thinking like a predator. He sees a piece of shade and he thinks, if I were a big fish, I'd be sitting right there. There is a concept in psychology called analysis paralysis, and the modern bass boat is a breeding ground for it. When you have 20 rods on the deck, you spend more energy deciding which one to pick up than you do actually fishing. You make 5 casts with a swim bait, get frustrated, switch to a worm, make 3 casts, and then reach for a topwater. You're never in the flow. The bank ninja has 1 rod, 1 reel, maybe 1 pocket full of lures. Because his options are limited, his focus is unlimited. He has to make that 1 lure work. He has to learn every vibration, every shimmy, and every bounce of that specific bait. He develops a feel for the bottom that no high-modulus graphite rod can buy. He is one with his presentation. But there's something even deeper. It's the fear of skunking. The guy in the expensive boat feels the pressure to perform. He spent all that money. He hauled that trailer 2 hours to the lake, and he needs to justify it with a big bag of fish. That stress travels down the line. He fishes fast, he fishes tense, and he overworks his lures. The kid? He's just there to fish. He's relaxed. He's quiet. He moves through the brush like he belongs there. He isn't trying to conquer the lake. He's just part of the ecosystem. And in the world of the apex predator, the most relaxed hunter is usually the most successful one. He's not a customer, he's a ninja, and he's about to teach us the most important lesson in the history of the sport. At the end of the day, the base doesn't care about the logos on your shirt or the price tag on your electronics. It only cares about the hunt. We've spent this whole time deconstructing the lies of the industry, but the goal isn't to make you throw away your gear. It's to help you find your way back to that bank ninja mindset. Because once you combine the focus of that 10-year-old kid with the tools you have now, you become unstoppable. This is just the beginning of the journey. We've got some incredible deep dives coming up. We're going to talk about the midnight lunkers and the science of night fishing. We'll break down the secret language of birds and how they lead you to the biggest schools of your life. And we're going to expose the lures that the pros actually use when the cameras are turned off. If you don't want to miss those insider secrets, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. You're going to want to be here for what's next. But before you go, I want to bring it all back to where it started for all of us. I want to hear your story. Drop a comment below and tell me, where are you fishing from? Whether it's a pond in Ohio, a river in Georgia, or a lake in the California Delta, let us know your home turf. And more importantly, do you remember your first bass? What was the feeling when that line went tight for the very first time? And for the big talkers out there, what's your personal best? Tell us the weight of your biggest bass, the body of water you pulled it from, and the exact lure that did the job. Was it a high-tech swim bait, or was it a $2 plastic worm that finally tricked the king of the lake? Let's turn this comment section into a real tackle shop porch. Share your wins, share your heartbreak stories of the one that got away, and let's remember why we all fell in love with this sport in the first place. Thanks for watching. Now, put down the manual, step away from the screen, and go find your inner ninja. I'll see you on the water in the next one.